Today we are launching 40 days of prayer. You know, 40 days is a very symbolic meaning. There's 40 days of Lent, the 40 days of the flood, the 40 days of everything. So around you, you will see these prayer cards, which have a prayer that I wrote. You can do your own. You don't have to do this one. But anyone who would like to, I'm going to invite you to be in prayer with us the next 40 days. As luck would have it, the end of the 40 days ends up being May 18th. What happens May 18th? A rededication ceremony. Crazy how that worked. So today, I just thought we'd launch it. I'm going to read our prayer. You can read along with me. And if you want to just listen, you're welcome to do that. So in the stillness of this moment, I open my heart and mind to the divine presence of God. I live, move, and have my being in the one life of God, and I speak this word with power and complete acceptance. I know our beloved spiritual community is an instrument of divine love, joy, and wisdom in the world. I proclaim that Unity of Charlotte is nurturing a deep, mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles for all of its members, friends, volunteers, ministers, and ministries. I accept everything that is necessary for the perfect unfoldment of this church, including people, resources, and creative ideas, is right now easily and abundantly supplied. As we move forward to fulfill our mission, I know and accept that we are revealing spiritual truth in our community and in the world. We are a dynamic, vibrant, relevant, and prosperous church. We are blessed and we are a blessing. Life is good and all is well. Through the power of the living Christ, I release this word into the law of mind. In joy and gratitude, I give thanks that the word is made manifest in perfect timing and in divine right order. So it is. Amen. So dedicated and show up time and again and practice and sing together and get on each other's nerves and do all the things that groups do. But in the end, it creates a beautiful experience. So thank you all. I'm so grateful for your willingness to show up and participate. So we are looking at this idea around spiritual renewal this month. We're exploring, what does it mean? What does it mean to renew oneself? Because you see, we are in a time and in an age and in a culture that values productivity above all things. What have you done for me lately, sometimes, right? What have you done today? And so some of us will say, I think it would be important for me to have a spiritual practice, and we sit down in the morning and we close our eyes and the committee goes off, telling us what needs to be accomplished, telling us what needs to happen, telling us what all we need to be doing. What are you doing just sitting there, right? So renewal is a practice for many of us that we have to learn to cultivate, to withdraw from the world. You see, I came up with I don't know if it's new to me. I'm going to go ahead and take credit. I've been saying it long enough. That sometimes we need to slow down to go faster. That sometimes we need to slow down, to get still, to get centered before we go into our activity. Remember years ago hearing Marianne Williamson speaking about this kind of idea of she said, I'd be doing my life and I'd be doing what I thought I was supposed to do and, busy and all that sort of thing. And then chaos would ensue. And then I'd be like, oh my goodness. So she said, I'd fall to my knees in prayer. And things would mellow out and structure. And then she'd get busy again. It's kind of like, okay, God, I got it. I'll take it from here. And notice this pattern that as years she got, the more chaotic it became. She'd stop. She'd do her work. Until at one point she thought, well, maybe I should just stay on my knees. Metaphorically, maybe I should just stay in that state of that awareness of the presence of God, of the divine, seeking its expression. Maybe I should remember. Maybe I should actually make it a priority among all of the things that I have to accomplish every day to spend time in my spiritual renewal. Here's what I know. We are creatures of habit. You notice that? You do something, you do it again, you keep doing it, and then virtually you do it without thinking about it. Remember learning to drive? Remember when you first learned to drive? I don't know if you learned how to drive on a stick, but you got a whole lot of stuff going on. You got a left foot and a right foot, right? And you had to think about it. And then somehow that became incorporated into our consciousness and got stored. And now we drive without even thinking about driving. I've seen some of you drive. No, I'm kidding. That was a joke. But right? We drive, we talk on the phone, we do our hair, we do all this stuff. We're not thinking, oh, I need to be driving. Right? Because we learned how. That's the wonderful thing about our subconscious. So we develop habits by doing something and then doing it over and over. And then we tend to always fall back to that way of being. So we say, I'd like to make some change in my life. And we may be good for a day or so, consciously, intentionally, willfully, trying to make the change. But ultimately what happens is we move back to our old way of being. If we haven't realized that it is a process of creating a new habit. Now what neurological science is telling us now is there's actually pathways in our brain that get established and get set up. And so our brain thinks the same way over and over. So sometimes we have to disrupt that so that we can do something different. So while we seek change, we are also often uncomfortable by it. Because it's not known, it's not comfortable, it's not what we had imagined. I say over and over and over that in learning to be in the process of transformation, we have to learn to die to our old way of being in order for something new to be born. So we just celebrated Easter, the classic wonderful story of death and resurrection. And we see that as a metaphor for this process that is happening over and over again through us. That if we want to continue to evolve, if we want to continue to change, then we have to be willing to let go of that which we believe to be so. Sometimes we even have to let go of our opinions. You need a minute with that one? Do you want to sit with that for a minute? Right? Sometimes we have to be willing to let go of our opinions. And I don't know about you, but here's how I approach the world. Everyone has their own opinion. Lucky for me, I hold truth. Right? Because this is how it really is. And I'm guessing I'm not the only one in the room that's like that. That some of us think that our opinion, well-formed and I'm sure well-developed over the years, is how it really is. Part of what I hate about being in spiritual community, notice how they're just flip sides of the coin, is that it causes us so often to question. Right? We get a group of people together, and they all have opinions. And then, if you're really crazy, you go into a ministry that attracts independent, free-thinking people, and you say, let's go this way. No. But I'm the leader. Right? But what I love about that is I want to be in that community. And yet sometimes what it requires us is a different set of skills. It requires of us to be together and to learn to focus on a common goal. This has been an intention for mine for a long time because one of the things I realized along my journey was that in New Thought, in metaphysics, in whatever version of this you learn, we are great at teaching people how to transform their individual life. Right? Anybody been changed by the teachings? having more control, having more power, having all of that. Where we're learning is how do we do that collectively? How do we focus together? So on the other side of the prayer are the intentions, right? So that we're looking at, here's where we go together. We collectively created a mission statement and some values that we want to embody and some intentions for the year and who do we want to attract and all that good stuff, so that when we're working in mind, we're allowing something to happen through us, that we're working towards a common purpose, that we're working towards a common good. Now, I know everybody has an opinion. Not too long ago, I was sitting in a group and somebody said, I think we should, and I rather indelicately said, you know what, I'm not really interested in opinions. And I said, well, that sounded a little harsh, but listen what I'm saying. This is not our time to be an opinion about things. This is our time to be listening to what Spirit is calling us to do. So there's another question, and that is, where are we going? So we've been working on, where are we going? What are we co-creating together? Now then, once we get clear on that, that's when we start to go, what's the best way to get there? What's the best way to create that? And so sometimes people will come to me and go, what do you think about, I'm like, I just need to know where we're going and point you in that direction. I don't need to know everything that has to happen. That's when we're moving into a mission-centric idea of ministry. It's not that I get to play dad. If I did, I'd be the good dad. I'd be the fun dad, right? But as the spiritual leader, I get to say, let's go this way. And then we cream together and we get clear. And so I'm setting all of this up for some of the things to come. Some of the things to come as we're coming together, not only in small group around spirit groups, but around service groups. In our old way of being as a church, we did what many churches do. We find a volunteer, and we put them in charge of something. We keep them in charge of that something until we have exhausted the last dregs of their being. And when they are exhausted, we throw them on the trash heap of used up volunteers and go in search of new volunteers to lead that. And so what we know is that doesn't work anymore. And we don't want to do that. So we're going from finding individuals to creating teams for everything. Coming together so that, crazy idea, but we could create balance. We could create renewal. That when it's your time to serve, come and serve graciously. And when it's your time to receive, come and receive graciously. I know, I'm gonna give you a magnet on this, right? See, we get into that, well, I got to do something. And I won't go to church today because I don't have anything to do. You could just come and be inspired. You could just come and be loved on. It is a different model of doing it. For me, I'm a doer. I like to get stuff done. And so it actually took a certain amount of practice, a certain amount of discipline. Don't freak out. Discipline only means to follow. A disciple is one who follows. So discipline is following away. It took a certain amount of discipline to learn to work from Spirit first, to listen to what the divine was seeking to say through me. Now here's what happened when we start living a vision-oriented life. We say, I declare, this is my new vision. I live a vision of health and well-being and satisfying and nurturing relationships, and my body is vibrant and full, and, right? We're getting all that good stuff. This is who I am. And then there's our current reality. Maybe your vibrant body isn't being completely vibrant right now. Maybe your finances aren't displaying the fullness of this prosperous universe. Maybe, right? There's this high vision, and then there's our current reality. Now, here's an interesting thing. There's a dude, and I'll think of his name at some point, who talks about this idea of when we set a vision, here's our current reality, here's our vision. And this space in between is called cognitive dissonance. It is when our mind is like, oh. I always explain it this way. Have you ever gone to somebody's house and they had a picture that was crooked and you just went ahead and adjusted it? By the way, Patricia, that was me. Right? You don't want to be like, what are you doing? But it's like, I can't look at that because it's, right? That is cognitive dissonance. It shouldn't be that way, but it's, right? So here's what's saying. You say to your mind, here's my vision. My infinite possibility. I'm so inspired because I heard that music and Reverend Marty and all of it. And it's like, oh yeah, here I am. Here's my current reality. Cognitive dissonance. Now, one of two things has to happen. We either need to raise our current reality to the level of our vision, or we bring our vision back down to our current reality so that we can be comfortable again. Does this make sense? Anybody ever done this? So the work in our spiritual life is to keep returning to that spiritual reality. We make some pretty bold claims in unity. We don't believe that we're separate from God. We believe that God is everywhere, present all of the time. And therefore, we are in that presence. Our life is the life of God. So we are not all that God is, but all that we are is God. We are the drop of the ocean with all of the qualities, all of the essence. So when we start doing our spiritual work, it is not about getting God to give me the goods. Come on, God, bring it on. I'll be good, I promise. I'll do this. That's called bargaining. That's called negotiating. But being in this prayer, so that's a bold claim, isn't it? You are the divine in form. But there's a part of us through our conditioning that doesn't believe that. Heal thou my disbelief, right? So if we are not taking the time to spiritually renew, to withdraw from the ways of the world into that innermost sanctuary where we are inspired in spirit by truth and keep holding that higher vision, then we move down here. Now, I was invited, careful how I say that. So I was looking for what I wanted to do with my life because I retired from ministry. Good on me. Retired? Yeah, just thought I'd explain that to you. So this is my new retired life. How do you like it, right? But at this point in my life, I thought I was done. And I kept saying, what's next? I know I'm not done in terms of bringing what I'm here to bring into the world, but I am here to bring something, and I don't see how I can do it in the container that I've done for the last 20 years, so I'm going to let that go, call it good, got a little trophy. I'll show it to you sometime. 25 years, whew. And said, okay, what's next? And then things fell apart for me. And so in that falling apart came a new life, came a new possibility. And one day in serving another community, I came across this little posting for a little group called Unity of Charlotte. What's that about? Because you know how when God speaks to you and you're called to do something, like, I don't do that. Remember, I'm retired. I was like, got to looking, and it was like, this is kind of cool. Let's go see. Well, the rest is history, because obviously, John, I'm not retired. But I literally had to die to an old way of doing ministry in order to create a space so that we could do something together. And because the universe is amazing and fabulous, It said, you know what, Marty, there's this little group in a town you've been to once, twice actually, 2 conventions I was here, that you're going to go live in. Well, again, I said, I don't know if you're listening to this prayer. I'm only asking, what am I supposed to do next with my life? And you're giving me this answer. Spoke with somebody recently. See if this sounds familiar. Talking to him and their job is being discontinued. And so he said to me, I've been praying and for my abundance, for my prosperity and all this, and now all of a sudden, life has said, this job isn't here anymore. I said, okay, tell me about the prayer. What are you praying for? I want to be fulfilled. I want to give my gift. I want to do what I do in the world. I said, great. Tell me about the job. It provides income. Does it provide you to give your gift? Does it, right? All those things you just told me you're praying for? No. So can you see how the loss of your job is the answer to the prayer? Right? See, we don't always recognize the answer to our prayer sometimes doesn't look like or come about the way we would. See, this person, like I would say, okay, I'm willing to do that. And what I'd like you to do is go ahead and submit the offer. The 6-figure salary, the perks, the benefits, while I'm right where I am, so that I'll just smoothly and gently make that transition into my next thing. Some of you may be better at this than I am, but for me, there's generally a process of letting go. And so it was like, cool, you're praying for something, and what is unlike it goes away. Now, we may, if we go attached to, wait a minute, my current reality changed. Because remember how we were going to do this? And now here's this. So trust, have faith. Do the spiritual renewal so that the vision we hold for our lives is more real than the little r reality. This is why your friends and family think you're crazy. You say, I will see it when I believe it, not the other way around. Does this have any meaning for anybody besides myself? So here's what I know. We've been doing a lot. I kind of came in here, do what I do, and you notice, for those who've been here a little bit, things are different, right? And it's not just to change things so we can change things, but I have a vision, and I keep working towards the vision, and yet you got to love what is, right? So you don't make what is wrong, you just keep elevating. And in order to elevate, you must spend some time in spiritual renewal to know what you're trying to elevate to. Right? There is, in our world, what is highly prized is what we would call the type A personalities. Right? CEOs make a bunch of money. Right? Because they are going to get results. Right? We value that as a society. But here's what I know. Type A's, when they burn out, usually go to just its opposite, where they are in need of renewal. I've done it myself. I've been through burnout. I've been through exhaustion. Where, you know something's off when somebody comes to you and says, will you pray with me? And you're angry about it. How dare you? Do you know what I have to do today? It's a sign. It's a clue. It's just a little clue. Right? So, in this creation of a new life in a cool town, which is beautiful, by the way. Charlotte is amazingly beautiful. I have to say, North Carolina is like, wow, where'd all this come from? So I wasn't here in any of these cool times, so this is very cool. It's absolutely beautiful. You're beautiful. We're kind of cool, as far as I'm concerned, and it's exciting. It's like we are recreating ourselves with a new possibility. I keep saying we need to know at the core of our being that the world is in search of spiritual truth. Now, not everybody has to believe what we believe or go to unity or do that sort of thing, but I believe the world is seeking to know itself differently. When we teach these principles, they're universal. We often talk about new thought and ancient wisdom. These teachings have been around for a very long time. The Fillmores reformulated and put universal truth into a package, and it's time again for us to do it again. We keep speaking to that. But people, I believe this at the heart of my being, want to know they are in relationship with the divine, and that the divine is not somehow separate from them, but rather the divine is seeking its expression through us. That divine vision that calls us is divinity. And so when we glimpse it, it's what Spirit is calling us to be. And I believe that all that is necessary for that fulfillment is provided, except the roadmap. That's what we got to figure out. But you keep moving towards the vision. Keep renewing the spirit. Keep renewing the soul. And so, my friends, I would ask you, are you willing to give yourself the gift of spiritual renewal? Are you willing to actually take time on a regular, systematic basis to be in spiritual practice? To be in prayer, to be in meditation, to do the things that remind you of who you are at a soul level, and then move into the world from that awareness. Now, as we're moving into this 40 days, this is symbolic, and as I said, you don't have to use my prayer, use your own, and just give you a tool if you like it. But realize that we are saying to the universe collectively, use us. Use us for a higher purpose. Allow us to be a place where healing occurs, where spiritual truth is taught and accepted and known. Allow us to be at our best. Allow us, God, to get out of our opinion and live in collective wisdom. Are you willing? You don't have to give me an answer today. But that's the question. I mean, and that's what I come up to, is am I willing to release what I believe to be so true, the facts? Say, well, I know it's true, but I also know that God has a better idea. One of the most powerful phrases in the Bible, I believe, is that one that says to us that we are transformed. We are transformed by the renewal of our mind and heart. There's a word for it, it's called metanoia, sometimes translated repent, which freaks everybody out. But hear, O Israel, as I give you these words, if you look at the Greek, what metanoia means is a change of mind and heart. We must change our inner in order to experience different on the outer in a lasting way. And it takes practice. So, let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. What do you say? Let's just create an amazing atmosphere of joy and wonder and spiritual truth. And if we're messy in the process, well, let us celebrate our mess. Right? I know I was here all day yesterday watching these hard workers work. And this place at this time yesterday was a mess. There was stuff everywhere, and there was purple over here and orange over here, and stuff was taken down, and everything. It was a mess. Today, sweet and peaceful and loving, and yeah. So I'm just saying, if mess happens over the next 40 days, celebrate. It's all good. It's all good. What we are envisioning is coming about. Lucky for you, we didn't change our mind halfway through and say, this isn't working. Let's just leave it half yellow and half purple. Right? It's all good. All right, kids, I'm going to stop talking because we got to have brunch. We got to have fun stuff. I would love to invite my soulful, my angels of song up forward, and then we're going to move into prayer together if that's okay with you. So as we just take that awareness that we live, move, and have our very being in the presence of God, in the presence of life, in the presence of divinity itself, we remember that the one life is creating through its creation. And so we open our hearts and our minds in this moment to remember who we are. Original blessings, born of the Spirit. And as we remember the truth of who we are, we simply call forth that which is already so. We release anything unlike the vision we hold for our life and accept our greater good. We know in this moment that wholeness reveals itself as health and well-being and vitality. We know that love reveals itself in satisfying and nurturing and empowering relationships. We know that the one life is abundant and that we are participating in divine flow, joyously giving, graciously receiving of the infinite bounty of Spirit itself. We are told that we live, move, and have our very being in the presence of the divine. So let us breathe deeply into that awareness. Let us speak with clarity and conviction. Let us open our hearts to be unconditional in our love, in our compassion, knowing that grace fulfills itself through us. This is the truth that I know. And even as I speak this word of truth, I know that those requests that have been placed in our ministry of prayer, that we are moving into that consciousness that says, before you ask, I shall answer. The healing has already occurred. The revelation of truth is making itself known. So we give thanks this day. We give thanks for the many blessings in our lives. We give thanks for the blessing of spiritual community. To be together, to remind ourselves of what is real. We extend our blessing to all of our brothers and sisters across the planet as we remember the brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity. We are envisioning a world at peace and a planet that is whole. We bless all priests, rabbis, ministers, teachers of every faith. For there are many pathways to the divine, and therefore we celebrate and honor them all. In joy and gratitude, then, I simply am giving thanks. I am giving great thanks for the many blessings seen and those yet to be seen. And as I release this word into the law, I know that it goes forth in perfect timing and in divine right order for the highest good of all concerned. In joy and gratitude, then I simply allow it to be so, as together we say, and so it is. Amen.